So as long as you're comfortable with that concept, we can go ahead and test this. And what should happen is when we have a key up event happen on this search input field, we'll grab the search term, which isn't relevant at the moment because we are passing it, but we're just returning this value here. The text from search.php should then be returned into this div. So let's go and try that out. I'm just going to type in A and nothing's happened. So let's check why that might be. Let's have a look in. Oh, there we go. There we are. So now I've just corrected that tiny mistake there. We can go ahead and test this out again. So I type A, and you see we returned the value from search.php, which has come from search.php. So now that we know we can return data, the jQuery code is done, and all we need to do now is search the actual database and return, or the database table, and return the values, which will then be placed in here. So we've actually done the majority of the application. We just need to go ahead and implement and combine PHP to return these results. So the first thing we want to do is require the database file, which is db.php, and in here we need to go ahead and connect to our database. So we're going to go ahead and use MySQL connect, and we're going to connect to a MySQL server, which is localhost. My username is root, and I don't have a password set. We then need to select the database, which is jQuery. Remember, our database over here was called jQuery. We then want to close that off because we're all done here. We're obviously requiring it into this file so we can make use of it. Now, the search term variable can be picked up inside search.php. So the first thing we want to do is check whether this is set. So we use the isSet function, and we check if $_post, much like you'd do if you were passing variables from an HTML form to a PHP file, and this is search_term. So if that is set, that means that we have passed this variable to this page. Then what we can do is just redefine this variable with a few security measures. So search term is going to be equal to $_post search term, and we need to apply some relevant sanitization to this variable, and the reason for that is we're going to be querying our database, and SQL injection would be possible. We're also going to use HTML entities to remove any XSS issues we might have, because we're going to be returning, as you saw in the example at the start of this tutorial, the value that the user's been typing, and we don't want any of our page to be manipulated in any way. So the first thing we want to do is apply HTML entities, and this will just take HTML code and return it as an entity. So the MySQL real escape function, real escape string function around this will also help to prevent, in some way SQL injection. Okay, so now that we've done this, we want to go ahead and just quickly check if the search term isn't empty or not. If it's empty, we don't want to perform the query. It would be a waste of resources. So if not empty, search_term, then we can go ahead and actually perform the search. By this I mean if I was to press backspace, I don't want the query to then be performed. So inside here we can now go ahead and echo out search term just to test the functionality of this. So we're passing this variable, PHP is then going to pick up this variable and return what we've typed. So now you'll start to see a more dynamic result returned to us. So let's go ahead and type in ALEX, and you can see that the value is returned each time to us. So now that we've seen this, we know that it's working, and we can go ahead and perform the search query and then actually return the results. So I'm going to create a new variable called search, and this is going to be a MySQL query. Now the query is as follows. It will be select place and description, because we have two fields that we want to return, which is place and description, and this is from places. That's the table name just here, and the condition is where places like, so we're matching it to the likeness, and this is where the search function comes in, like search term. Now I've surrounded this in percentage signs, and this just means that anything before or after this, as long as something matches. So for example, if we were to type in CH, it would take this and it would ignore all of this. I guess you could say ignore, but it basically searches within somewhere if you use these. You can use these on their own, but obviously for the purpose of this, we want it to search the whole term and not match anything else. So like I said at the start of the tutorial, this isn't going to search for multiple keywords. We're just performing, some basic search functionality. Okay, so now that we've done that, we need to return our result count. So result underscore count is going to be equal to MySQL num rows. This will return the amount of rows that this query returns. So for example, if we were to search for CH, this will be returned in Manchester and then Chorley. So this function would return 2. We obviously need to supply this with the original query, and then result count would equal 2. So we now have our result count.